Welcome to Wynonna Earp, a look back at the series Queer Legacy. And I want to first thank GLAAD and Wynonna Earp and Sci-Fi and the cast and creators for making this happen. I'm Tracy Gilchrist. I'm the editor-in-chief of The Advocate. And I'd like to introduce our panel, although I'm fairly certain that not much introduction is needed. First, let us go to our formidable creator, executive producer, and showrunner of Wynonna Earp, Emily Andras.
Oh, thanks, Tracy. Thanks for having us.
Yeah. And then, of course, we have Dominique Provost-Chalkley, who plays Waverly Earp on the series.
Hello.
With a really lovely new haircut, by the way.
Thank you very much.
And then, of course, we have Katherine Barrell, who plays Sheriff Nicole Haught. And also with us from GLAAD, as this is in conjunction with GLAAD, we have Megan Townsend, who is the Director of Entertainment Research and Analysis. So thank you for being here, Megan.
Yes, thank you everybody for joining. I'm excited to have a discussion.
Thanks for having us.
So I do this thing where I like to start with a little anecdote, not a big long one, but I have to say, as a queer person who came out back when there was nothing, I mean, I had Laverne and Shirley, and I had The Facts of Life, and luckily I had a great imagination, so I read into things.
They're pretty formative for a lot of young gay women, I would say. Yeah.
Exactly. But so at this point, seeing something like Wynonna Earp, for me, it rewrites the narrative for me, and I still can't get enough of seeing characters like these and shows like these. So first off, I just want to say thank you to all of you for giving us this gift. And then I'm going to start really kind of easy, maybe easy. This chapter is closing, and I wonder if I could check in with all of you about how you're feeling. So I'll start with you, Emily.
How am I feeling? I'm feeling conflicted. I'm feeling wistful. But more than anything, I'm genuinely feeling grateful. I feel grateful to have been able to put these stories on television, to have worked with these two extraordinary women who gave it their all and just imbued these characters in this relationship with life and generosity and warmth in a way that kind of, you know, was above my wildest dreams. And I'm just so thankful as well that people have understood what we're trying to do with the show and really fallen in love with it and followed us on our journey. So complicated for sure, but I think it's really important to live in the present and just feel happy, just feel grateful that we're here.
Well said.
Thank you. And you know, Dom, you're on my Zoom right now, so I'm going to throw that to you and ask you how you're feeling.
Yeah, I mean, how am I feeling? Much like Emily, I think really, you know, it's a conflicting, any ending is a conflicting feeling, because I quite like to rather reframe it, instead of being sad it's over, being happy it happened, you know, like being grateful and happy that we were able to go on this amazing journey. And I think I mean, Kat and I spoke about this a lot towards the end when we were, you know, filming that beautiful last episode, and it really couldn't have been a better way to tie up, whether it is forever, whether we do get to go back and do it again, whether we do a movie in 5 years time where we're all, you know, like who knows what the future of Wynonna Earp is. But I'm a real believer that from the moment this show started and we all got put together, that there was some divine alignment that happened, and this show has had a life of its own that is almost written in the stars. And so surrendering to that, and trusting that if it is supposed to continue, it will, in whatever form, and really just being deeply grateful to the universe for putting us together to be able to share this magic moment that we all got to experience. Yeah.
Great.
Beautifully said.
And how about you, Kat? How are you feeling with this chapter?
I mean, I have to agree with these two amazing women. I think I am feeling like what Dominique just said. I think so strongly there was this meant to be quality of the show, the people that were involved, and the way it all came together, and the fan base, and just like the time that it came out, and how much change we've borne witness to in the past 5 years, especially when we're talking about queer representation. Like, you cannot tell me, even though we joke and we're, you know, good self-deprecating Canadians, that we have this like little show and like no one's, you know, it's just a tiny show, but it's not. I would bet anything that like this show changed the landscape. It did. And there was something in the universe that shifted and was like, now we need the show. And it was like lightning in a bottle. And there's part of me, like Dominique says, I'm so excited for the fans to see our final episode, because there was something so peaceful about it too. You know, that I just felt like, I mean, I couldn't have thought of a better, it felt so perfect. And I'm so grateful for that. And I am, and I've gotten over and we've had more time too than our audience. Like, we've read the scripts, we've played it out, we've had months of digesting. And I'm very cognizant of the fact that it's very difficult to witness but I don't know, there's something in my gut that feels like there's some incarnation that will live on in some way. I don't know what it is, but I feel like when things are there's a chapter that's closed and that's open, but you have to, like Dominique said, honor where you are and celebrate where you are and look back with fondness, because that's all we can do. And like, what a gift. I'm just I'm so grateful, you know?
Yeah, it's a gift to everyone. So
yeah,
thank you for that. And you know, Megan, Kat just mentioned that this series changed the landscape, and that is something that you look at and monitor at GLAAD. So I want to kind of go back and ask, Megan, do you recall when you first saw Wynonna Earp and what sort of impact it had on you, and what did you think about it at the time in terms of queer representation and what it did for changing the landscape?
Yeah, absolutely.
At that time.
Yeah, I kind of got in with the show very early on. It was very much in my kind of obviously, you know, crossed over with my work, but as like a kind of nerd who loves sci-fi stuff, it was very much like, oh, this was going to be, you know, my brand anyway. This was going to be something that I loved. And then it had this queer angle, and I saw like Autostraddle and all of these other sites covering it. And I was just like, okay, now I got to know what's going on. And from like watching the first season, I think I came in maybe towards the end of it, and I like binged it all in like the course of 3 or 4 days, and was just like, I love this. And then it just happened to be that I was going to Comic-Con that year for work, and I was able to somehow work my way in with somebody from IDW to you know, go to the first panel and to see the fans. And I think it's just been from there, you know, such like a great kind of relationship for me, but for GLAAD with the show and everything that we've kind of been able to do with the Earpers and their supportive Spirit Day every year. And, you know, Emily writing a role into the show, like all of those things have been amazing. And I think really speak to sort of Emily and how you all, I think, really realize that the kind of like what Kat was saying about how much this matters to queer women in particular, and speaking as a bi woman, to bi women in particular. I remember when season 1 came out and you all kind of like made the choice to step forward and say, like, we know what's going on in other shows right now. We promise she doesn't die. Like, and spoiling your own kind of moment to say, you know, we understand and we have you. And I think that has been kind of the honor between the show and the fans in a way that has been so different from anything that we've seen. I think in terms of the landscape, especially, you know, with, I've been at GLAAD for 9 years now, and I've done many reports on inclusion in film and TV. And from when I started in 2012 to where we are now has just been such a huge change, alongside all these kind of societal changes that we're seeing. And I think one area that has not changed as quickly has been bi representation. You know, we make up the majority of the community, but we're still like, it was only 29% of LGBTQ characters this year. But I think that Waverly has always sort of been one of my fave bi characters since we started, because it's been such a great example of a bi character whose identity is out there and clear and talked about and part of her life and how she views things, but her story goes beyond just that moment. And so I think in terms of just saying that, like, this has changed the landscape, like, it's absolutely true. And I hope that, you know, in the coming like year, whether it be more of Wynonna, which of course, fingers crossed, or whether it be, you know, other shows that are getting greenlit, that we see, you know, creators sort of learning from that legacy, that there are stories and opportunities in our community, but also that we are a powerful group to have the support and love of. So if you write amazing stories about us and for us, we will show up for your show and for your conventions, and we will follow you and love you forever, which I've all seen.
Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you, Megan. Emily, I wonder if you would take us back a little bit. How was it that you came up with the unbelievable, I mean, you know, the idea is one thing, but also you gave us this very egalitarian, very queer show, very feminist show. And I have to say, as a Libra, one of the things I love about the show is the balance of power in all of the relationships. I mean, Wynonna and Doc, you would think that would not be what it is, but I wonder if you could talk a little bit about having the impetus for this. I know you had Lost Girl before, but I mean, this is just, anyway, that's my question. So.
Sure. Yeah. No, thank you, Tracy. I mean, I feel like you touched on it earlier inadvertently. I feel like I've always been a huge lover of television and storytelling, but I feel like I've been waiting to see myself on television for a really long time. And also other people I knew who were incredible, passionate women in particular, people in the LGBTQ community who maybe wanted to see their Han Solo or their John Wayne or what have you. So I've always been really interested in the notion of taking fairly like traditional sort of genre worlds, I guess you could say it, and populating them with the people, making the people who are usually on the margins the heroes. You know what I mean? Like whether they be people of color or people who are gay or people who identify as a woman. I think honestly, like, where are all those stories in history? And that's just such an interesting way, I feel, to freshen up a story we've heard a million times before. So yeah, I was pretty determined. A lot of making a show and show running is compromise all the time, but I feel like knowing that we were going to have all these powerful women and this powerful queer relationship was kind of non-negotiable for me from the start. So it was easy to fight for, if that makes sense. It was just not going to be something that was going to be compromised at any time. Yeah, it's just been such a blessing. I think I'm only interested now in telling stories about people who maybe don't see themselves on television and particularly in the queer community. I think just there's such an audience for it. And I think of all the young people it could help and save, but also like people who maybe aren't even in the community, just to see these kind of complicated, human, warm, fun, heroic kind of portrayals of people who identify as queer is going to help change the world. And again, I don't want to put too fine a point on it, but like I really think that can change hearts and minds, even in some ways faster than legislation or what have you, just because I think if you take away the fear and take away the othering of people and just showcase people as they really are, it makes people more open-minded. But it has been an honor. And again, I just feel like, I think Kat said, like just the alchemy of everything coming together and maybe flying under the radar at the beginning, so that by the time we had kind of stepped the stage with these amazing characters and people started to maybe want to push back on the fact that like there was this queer couple, it was too late, which is delightful and good. We were doing what we were going to do. And yeah, and again, all credit to like these two incredible women for just like humanizing these characters in a way that just leaps off the page, off screen. They just brought so much more to it than even I could have envisioned. So it was a team effort for sure. Very much so.
Well, I wanted to just know something that I noticed in this season. I watched so many clips yesterday to kind of get reminded, and something that stuck with me a few times is the "Where You Go, I Go," which is Ruth and Naomi. And you know, as I said, coming out when I did, that was also in Fried Green Tomatoes, which was de-gayed. And so you very much handed back this narrative to me by doing that and focusing on that line. So that's just a thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. Thanks for getting that. That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I wonder, you know, it's my job, but I wonder, Dom and Kat, I'll actually go to you, Kat. Would you please share with us your memories now of the first time you saw the script, or you were approached with this idea, or you know, you knew who Nicole Haught was going to be?
I went on a journey of auditioning for this show, auditioning for Wynonna and then Waverly and then Nicole. And I think for me,
we were like, there's something about that girl. There's something about her.
Keeps coming back.
We gotta find the right fit. Yeah.
But I think for me, like, I remember getting more and more information with every audition on what the show was. And I knew it was super unique, and I knew it was incredibly special and unlike anything I had ever come across so far in my career. But I was kind of earlier in my career shoved into this very like ingenue box, especially at theater school. They were like, you will play this person and this is who you will be. And so I remember when I got the role of Nicole, I was like, she's too strong for me. I've been told for 5 years now that I'll never be able to play this like strong, empowered, badass professional. So with Nicole, that was always my first thought, is I never, I wasn't in a place where I was believing in myself enough. I remember saying to my partner the night before that audition, I'm never going to book this. I was like, this is hilarious. Like, I'll try. But so for me, this journey with Nicole has been on a personal level, like really finding my strength. And through her, she's guided me from someone who was like, had a lot of people telling them what they were, especially as an actor, because everyone loves to be like, oh, you're the girl who blah, 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 or you're the character who, like, that's your type. And we do that horrible thing in this industry. But for me, what I learned from Nicole was just this journey to like find my strength and settle into myself, into my own power, into my own strength, into my own understanding of my own sexuality, of my ability to play someone who knew so deeply who they were when I felt like I really didn't. And I was just constantly looking to people to tell me and to like figure it out for me. I'd just be like, where's my box? Please tell me, and I will go to my box and like be a good girl about it. And like my journey on the show with Nicole is really, for me on a personal level, what I've gained, and like watching myself just settle into myself and my energy and like my different versions of femininity, and some days tapping into more of like my masculine energy, or my like gravitas, or whatever that is, like has been so incredibly rewarding to me on a personal level. I'm like so grateful for that, because I think if I had to stay in that sweet little pretty girl box, I never would have settled into that aspect of myself. And I'm so grateful that Emily and our casting director Lisa like saw that in me and believed in that in me and trusted me that it was there, because I didn't see it in myself at all. So I'm just like so incredibly grateful.
Just get chills hearing you talk about it though. Like I honestly, I'm like, Kat, I'm not just saying this. I actually think you are such a strong person. Like you are such a strong person. You're very honest, and like you're so honest about like your mistakes and your flaws and your strengths. But I feel like, and I would say I think the rest of the cast sees you as that. Like I don't want to speak for anyone, but I think like you really are such a like stand up person. It makes me emotional, but I also just think there's been, and I'm sorry, I don't want to interrupt Dom. There's just been something really interesting though about like, there was something so beautiful about casting all these women and watching them grow into the job on screen. Like I think Haught and Wynonna and Waverly, they don't all know themselves that well when they start. So even you guys being unsure, it's like you shared hopefully a parallel journey with the characters.
Yeah,
I don't know, which was really, which
yeah.
was so genuine. I think that's what made it work. But,
yeah, what a journey. Yeah,
it's been so beautiful to watch you, Kat. And as you were telling that story, like I see that in you. I see, you know, well, I mean, we've spoken about it many times, but that settling into your energy, it's been so inspiring, and it's so beautiful to know that Nicole had such a big part of that, right? Like same thing for me. It's just so proud of you.
Dom, I wonder if you would talk, when you and I chatted in the summer, you did talk a little bit about really what you've learned from her and how she's impacted you. So I wonder if you could reiterate a little bit of that here.
Sure. My goodness, where to start? It's I've really been reflecting in the last few days on how divinely aligned I believe it was that I got cast as Waverly for so many other reasons than just the being an actress and being in a show and that, but like in sort of like life, in the course of my life, how I will never forget. And God bless Emily. Thank you so much for.
Oh, you earned it. You brought it. It was you. Yeah.
But it's just, it's been completely transformative, like totally. I mean, Kat spoke about her experience, same thing for me, like totally transformative, and continues to be. And I think I will always like hold Waverly in such a, like, she's a piece of me, of course, but she's so present in my heart and who I am as a human being, has inspired so much about the woman that I am today, the person I am today. And so where to start? I mean, when I got cast as Waverly Earp, I was a wee 25-year-old, was I? 20, something like that.
So crazy. It's so crazy.
It's so crazy, eh? Oh, and funnily enough, I had gone camping for the weekend. I don't think I've ever said this piece of it, but my first audition, I was out camping with a lovely young man that I was very, very attracted to, and I had turned my phone off for 3 days, and as I came back to Bristol, I turned my phone back on, and I'd seen that there was this audition, Wynonna Earp, that had come through, and I felt like, oh my God, you know, the panic, Kat, I'm sure you've had it, like the panic of, oh my God, it was 3 days, I was supposed to be prepping this audition, and I should have been, you know, all of very much probably like Waverly panic, like that kind of energy was present, and I got on it. I worked so hard, and I actually got this young man to record it with me. And there was something about that audition that just felt really good. It felt so fun and like quite freeing is probably the way I describe it. It just felt like playful and free. And of course, I'm in the UK, never thought anything of it, because the amount of auditions that we send out into the abyss, as Kat says.
Yeah.
That you just never expect it to come back. And especially like when I think about, I was in England, and just no way in a million years would I have thought that it would have worked out. And then I think I got a recall, and then it just so happened that I was in Montreal, having had quite an experience with another job where I had been cast and was supposed to be going to India, and at last minute they cancelled it, and I was in a really bad way of feeling just feeling really low about the industry, about my place in the industry, about was this really for me, all of this heartbreak and this real like putting so much hope into something, and it constantly being just like not quite working out. And I was in Montreal with my mom, so she told me to fly over to Montreal. She said, "Don't worry, we'll work it out. Just come on over here. You need to be around your family right now." And just by chance, I was in Montreal, and then it was very like poetic and picturesque in many ways, because I was in the park with my mum, and I'd finally like really let my mum see me in my pain, in the pain I was feeling, and I cried my eyes out. I fell asleep under a tree, and about 10 minutes later I got a phone call from my manager saying, "Hey, Dominique, you know that show Wynonna Earp?" I was like, "Yes." Yes. She was like, "So are you in Montreal?" I was like, "Yes." She was like, "So they're wondering if you want to come to Toronto to meet Emily, the showrunner, and Melanie Scrofano." And I was like, okay. And so me and my mum like went home and did the whole like working out to see how much the tickets were going to be and how I could change my flight to go back to the UK. And it was the greatest decision I ever made. I took a train to Toronto. I spent one day there. It was a blue moon that day, and it was this unbelievably perfect day from start to finish, walking into that audition room and meeting you both, and just feeling this sense of, who are these women? Where have these women been in my life? Like, oh my goodness, this is the kind of energy that I need to be around. Like, this feels so powerful. And of course, just so many nerves and so much kind of like having no idea what will happen. And then I spent the most beautiful day in Toronto, and just wandered the streets of Toronto feeling like, I can't believe I'm here. I can't believe how lucky I am. I've just feeling deep gratitude. And then at the end of the day, I got a phone call from my manager saying, "Do you want to go to Calgary for 5 months?" And I was like, yes. Like, it was so oh my goodness, so nourishing, and such the most biggest blessing. And then of course since then it's been a big journey of self-discovery.
Dom, now that we have you back, you were speaking about your journey, and you were getting to the place where you were talking about what Waverly has, how she's impacted you. And I wonder if you could just kind of continue to expound on that.
Absolutely. Yeah, of course. Well, as we know, I have largely down to Waverly, really, and Emily for writing this character and allowing me to play her. it really enabled me to step into my truth and the shoes of the queer woman I am, the queer human being I am, and really have the courage and the confidence to embody that, and which is really hard to put into words, like, you know, the gift that is, the liberating gift that Emily did, and that Emily gave me, and you know, it continues to be quite the journey. It's not by any means over. I'm learning that, you know, it's now been a year since I came out, and there are still all the layers of shame that I'm working through, that we all probably relate to on some level. And yet I don't think I would have got to where I am now at this point in my life had it not been for Waverly, for Waverly and Nicole's beautiful relationship that I got to experience. Like, I got to live it. Like, I did a dress rehearsal. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I got to live it through Waverly, and then meeting the fans of the TV show and being kind of immersed into queer culture that I had never been a part of before, was so eye-opening. And I mean, I've said this before, but meeting the fans and having people come up to my table and, you know, share these unbelievably inspiring stories about how, because of Waverly, or they would say, because of you, I've had the courage to come out to my parents. Mm-hmm. And I would just be kind of sat there with so many feelings and so much going on inside me, because I just wanted to say, because of you. But yeah, it was such a mutual exchange, and it's such a humongous part of my learning and my growth. And it's all down to Waverly. Like, it's literally everything stems from the fact that I got cast in this role, that then the way things unfolded helped me to access a piece of me that I had completely shut down. It all comes down to Miss Waverly Earp, who had the courage to go into that sheriff's office and grab that sexy woman and literally just go for it, you know. And it's I actually thought about her the other day. My mum, I went on a date, and I have a lot of the same feelings that Waverly has. Like, it's like exercising a muscle of like a 15-year-old boy is how I feel sometimes. And my mum was on the phone with me, and she's like, just do what Waverly did.
Oh my God.
I love you so much, Mum, that she like
but
brought
she's
it back
using the
to Waverly, you know, like, just grab her, just grab her and just do it. And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's so nice to be able to reference something that we lived, Kat, you know, that we experienced, that we went through, that we thought about. How do these characters feel? What, you know, what a special thing. I'm constantly quite blown away, and very much in the process of really reflecting on all of that.
I think too, just as an outside fan, I think it's interesting how you both kind of touched on kind of strength and hope and all these energies, because I think that one way that the show really stood out to me, and especially with Waverly, and I think this is very much a product of, you know, the kind of time when it came out, is so much, I think, of Waverly's kind of strength is about sort of the strength of being gentle and of loving and caring for all of these people, you know, around her, and still like kicking ass when she needs to, but like all with this sort of love and sort of open-heartedness for the world at the center of it. And I think especially in the last 5 years, it's very easy to be kind of cynical and shut yourself out to a lot of those kind of softer emotions right now. And I think a lot of the lesson of Waverly, and especially in this kind of final season, has been like finding the strength in being able to open up your heart to somebody, even though you're dealing with heavy things, and there's maybe people who are trying to murder you, but you can still be in love and have fun and light and laughter and family. So I think it's super interesting how you both also kind of touched on that, because outside person here, I'm not involved in the making of the show, but that was kind of always something that I loved so much about the show as a whole, is that was Waverly's sort of vibe, but also that with all these women in the show, you're seeing all of these different ways to be strong and to live your life and have these relationships and found family and all of that. So not to take over the question, but I think that's something
that's beautiful. Thank you for that reflection, Megan.
Megan, you just actually touched on a bunch of things that I have in my notes. So I'm going to, I really want to take a moment. The series is so meta in the fact that it's about found family. The characters are found family. The fans are found family. And I imagine that the cast and crew are found family as well. So there's that piece of it. I'm going to get to that question in a moment. We have to, I think, really honor the sisterhood that is in this, the literal sisterhood with Wynonna. And then obviously Nicole and Wynonna become best friends. And so I really think we have to give a shout out to Melanie Scrofano, who just, what an anchor for this show. And I'm going to go to you, Kat, because some of my favorite scenes are between Wynonna and Nicole. And when I spoke to you over the summer, I mentioned that scene where she says to you, or to Nicole, "You be the Scot."
I'll be Tessa.
Yeah. So good.
So good. That was a Melanie Scrofano original.
An improv.
Unbelievable. So I wonder if you would each say a few words about working with this really amazing anchor of the show. And I'll ask you first, Kat.
I think anchor is the perfect word to use. I think Melanie, being a number one in Caring show is such an incredibly difficult job. Not only are you working and pulling like the hardest hours, but it's so hard to, it's just such a big job. I mean, we could talk about the ins and outs of it, but like to handle it with grace and strength and showing up and Melanie's just, she's always been like Melanie. I think the most beautiful thing I've learned from Melanie is like strength and vulnerability. Melanie's someone who I would say is I have seen her at beautifully vulnerable moments, but it was never I've never ever felt there was a weakness there at all. Like it never came out of a surrender or giving up or not wanting to participate, or there was just such that's what I think of when I think of Melanie, is how much of a lesson I learned from not only her as like a colleague and an actor, and learning how beautiful those moments are to witness on screen, but watching her handle such a Herculean task of leading a show, and like the press and doing the media and having to be the face of this like enterprise, is such a big thing to have on your shoulders. And I think the balance of it was just so beautifully handled by her, with like humility and humor too, which is so difficult to do. But that's one of the biggest lessons I learned from Melanie, both as a professional and as a friend.
Thank you, Kat.
Yeah.
And then I wonder, Emily, would you say a few words about the titular character of your show?
Sure. I mean, I just think Melanie Scorfano is a once in a lifetime talent. I really do. I just have never seen such an extraordinary performance meld with the character in a way that was so clearly, like many things on the show we talked about, felt like a higher power, like kismet, just for it to go that way. Yeah, I think Kat said it so beautifully. Mel she feels so much. She feels so much. She's so generous, but she's so honest with her emotions. And when things are hard, she's honest about it. And when things are joyful, she laughs louder than anyone. And I think that's what makes her so human and makes Wynonna so human. I could cry talking about her. I honestly think that she is such an interesting woman and such an extraordinary actress. And the other thing is, as Kat said, when you're the number one, you set the whole tone of the production. If you are late, it gives people other permission to be late. If you don't know your lines, it lets other people think, well, I don't really have to be prepared. And I mean, over and over and over again, Melanie was prepared. She was welcoming. She was open. She worked harder than anyone, but she was still herself in all the things and all the ways that mattered. And she was really the sun that I think everyone else revolved around. And, we have such an extraordinary cast, but I would say that Melanie's gift elevated everybody. I hope that's okay to say, that just that her craft, however she came at it, was so kind of raw and full of emotion that, like, I think all my favorite scenes almost are you guys with Melanie, because there's just something so like free and liberating. And like, so I would say she elevated everything both on screen and off screen. I think she deserves all the accolades in the world. There just wouldn't be Wynonna Earp without her.
No, I agree.
100%.
And
100%.
Dom, would you say a few words about your on-screen sister, please?
You both just said, everything that was on my heart. Melanie has taught me that it's okay to cry, and that it's actually beautiful. And yeah, like you say, she's such this deep well of feeling. And I think that by just by being herself so authentically and honestly, it gives other people permission to feel and to embrace that, and embrace the beauty of humanity, of the human experience with all of its ups and downs and twists and turns. And she's just she's the most amazing actress. I agree with Em. I think she lifts us all up by her craft and her presence and the way that she connects in the scene. Like the scenes, I think, like the Waverly and Wynonna stuff, I'm always like just so blown away when I watch the work that she does, like in real time when she's in front of me. I'm just like, there have been many moments where I'm like, Dominique, stay present, because the Dominique in me is just like, have you seen this? Like, have you seen what's happening in front of you right now? Like, this is magic, and not everyone gets to witness that in life. So I feel very honored as an artist to be able to have experienced that. But yeah, beyond that, just as a human being, I think Melanie's had such a huge impact on me, and I really do see her as a sister. Like, that is something that I think I will always have now. And again, another gift, because I don't have any siblings, and there is this real sort of, if ever you need me, like, call me kind of energy that we have. And I really hope that we will continue to develop that over the years, and that it continues. Like I have, I believe she gave one to you as well, Kat, but a little stone, like a little rock that she took from the homestead on the last day, and she drew a little red heart with Wynonna Earp's nail polish on the stone from the homestead. And I travel with it everywhere I go, and I travel a lot, as I'm sure you're aware, or maybe not, but yeah. And it's on my altar, and I just, like, for me, it's just such an anchor. Speaking of anchors, because it's such a representation of home for me, you know. And I don't, as I'm figuring out where that is, it's just such a big part of my journey, and who I am, and a reminder, you know, that actually home can be anywhere, if you remember where you came from, you know, and the things that you've done, and it'll always be where the heart is, and this show is such a big part of that.
It can be a person, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's so it's just a really nice reminder of that. And she's again, it's just, that just shows you, like, she's such a thoughtful being, and it's such an inspiration, really.
Thank you for sharing that, Dom.
Mm.
You know, Megan, you mentioned found family, and this is such an integral piece of queer people's lives. It's a piece of this show, the idea of home that is woven into the series. And as Emily says, of, you know, home can be a person. So Megan, I wonder if you could just kind of talk about briefly the importance of found family in queer people's lives, from, you know, what you've discovered at your work through following queer visibility on television and in film.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that, you know, we're starting to kind of finally see a lot more shows that have more than, you know, just the one queer character. I know when I was kind of growing up and looking for LGBTQ stories, it was very much, you know, here's a whole straight show, and here's one sort of queer person who's kind of off to the side and a little bit involved, but, you know, on alternating weeks kind of thing. And in, you know, recent years, like, we've had things like you know, like Wynonna Earp and Good Trouble on Freeform, and the Tales of the City reboot on Netflix, and the L Word Generation Q reboot, and all of these things that are, and Pose, the biggest kind of, you know, family show, that are telling that story in a way that we haven't really gotten to see before. And especially when you look at a lot of these shows are also centering parts of the community who have not been seen as much, and what have been their experiences. You know, it's not, I think, a surprise to anybody to say that a lot of the history of LGBTQ representation has been white, and it's been gay men, and we're starting to see, you know, shifts in that. I hope that, you know, this year was, when you look at kind of the past few years of our TV reports, like every year, it's a much more positive report than our film report, because we usually have sort of all these new record highs to say every year. And, you know, this most recent one was the first year in, I think, like 5 or 6 years that there was a drop in the overall numbers. I think
really?
Part of that, obviously, due to COVID, and, you know, things that are being delayed, or things that are not, you know, new things that aren't being greenlit yet. But what we've kind of seen is not enough new things being greenlit yet. And since we put out the report, now that we know that that Pose is ending, and you know, Pose had the only HIV positive characters.
Wow.
On all of broadcast cable and streaming that we counted, and Special is coming to an end on Netflix. There is a whole lot more room to continue telling those found family stories and stories of queer friendships and queer romance and all of the ways that that we live, you know, our lives, and especially to center the people that we haven't seen enough of historically. So putting trans people at the center of the story, putting people living with HIV at the center of the story, people with disabilities. I think Special has been amazing for that, and I think that is, you know, because that was him writing from his own point of view and his own story. So I think it's something that we're starting to see more of, but something that I think there's definitely still room to grow in. And I hope with some of these shows that are coming to an end this year, that, you know, networks and streaming companies and all these executives who have money and power and a platform to greenlight anything are paying attention to the fans that are out there, the media who are, you know, covering all of these shows, to, you know, really see that there is an opportunity to you know, reach an audience that you may not be reaching, but also to tell stories that are new and interesting and groundbreaking and aren't being told anywhere else. Like, there's still a lot to dig into, and especially, you know, at this time when here in the US, like, we're looking at a whole lot of anti-trans bills popping up in various states. I think, like Emily said, there's a huge amount of story and life and authenticity to dig into to help people learn who trans people are, because it's, you know, less than 20% of Americans actually know a trans person. So anything that they know is what they see on TV or in the media. And if that's all not being done well, or if it's not there at all, then that leads to more of these bills and more of these awful consequences. So I think that I've gotten a little bit off of found families, but I think that it's sort of one of a variety of stories that we need more of to see.
And I think, Megan, you touched on something that I've been thinking a lot on, talking to a lot of people in some of my other work. I think one of the most important things for me, as I hope to continue advocating for more queer stories in the media moving forward, is this gap that I feel between, like, those that percentage that you gave of people who are like, well, I don't have queer people in my life. I don't, you know, like, we've talked about this, we need these stories that are crossing those boundaries. I think it's so important that we can't have a, like, we hang out here. For me, I'm really, 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 really passionate about finding where those intersect, because I desperately feel that, like, on a legislative level, that is where we can create so much lasting change. And those are the conversations that are really difficult to have, because we have arenas where there are really complex debates and feelings and histories, and can be very scary places for queer people. And I think I'm so excited to have more of those conversations. They're incredibly difficult to have, but I think they are, like, vital to expand the safe space and where we find those safe spaces. I hope that makes sense. And I think I'm so glad that you touched on that, because I think there's a huge battleground there that I hope we can continue to have those conversations in, because I think they're crucial.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for that, Megan, and also Kat
Yeah.
for weighing in there because yeah, I'm absolutely a firm believer in storytelling as
Yeah.
a salve, as a way to move the conversation in a new direction. I feel it's as important as anything else. I mean, the arts, that's what they do, right?
Yeah.
Um,
But I'm not saying it's easy. It's like it's
right.
incredibly difficult.
Yes.
And I think we just need to all band together and be sharing our resources and continue conversations and talking to each other. And the importance of, like, as storytellers, seeking out, if you feel you don't have an experience, seeking out the person who does and just learning from them and being like, let's just talk. Like, what does that feel like for you? I think is one of the most important conversations we need to continue to be making sure we're having. And that goes across like sexuality, race, like you name it. It's like, I see you, let's talk, like, tell me your story.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I wanted to do a little rapid fire before I get to final things. Could you all kind of give me your favorite moment or the favorite calamity that happened to your characters, or a favorite episode or scene or moment in the series that you can recall? And Dom, do you have one?
That's like honestly the hardest question. When people
Hard,
ask
I
me that, I'm
know.
like, my favorite, like, it depends which angle you're looking at in terms of favorite.
Yeah.
For the whole entire 4 seasons,
Well,
or just the
let me
last
ask you.
season?
You know what? Let me ask you, what's your favorite scene between Waverly and Nicole? Because this is the focus of the panel, so I should bring it to a point.
Bring it to a point.
I mean, oh, sorry, Dominique, go ahead.
Yeah, please, Kat, please go. Yeah.
Will this air before or after episode 12?
I think before.
It'll be between 11 and 12.
Because I have one that
but I won't hate it
so
if you
much.
say that you have a moment in 12 you love, because I sure do.
I do.
Yeah.
I have a very, very, very like vivid moment from shooting 12 that I love. But sorry, Dominique, take it, girl, take it.
No, that's great. Please do continue. You have a vivid moment that you love. Me too. In 12, I think it will be forever etched into our hearts. 12 for sure. And I think it really is like the culmination of so much. We've also spoken about that other one, Kat, that we loved with this sorry balloons and the
one that stands out.
Yeah, just like so much love in that embrace.
I really love, I mean, some of the favorite things I love with Nicole and Waverly are even the scenes that are not about them, but when they're just together, like they have their coupley energy, and the scene's not necessarily about them as a couple, or it's not like a big romantic scene, but I love seeing them just exist in the world together and having their energy together. I think those are some of the scenes that are the most powerful especially when I've been talking to fans. Like, there's the big romantic scenes that we all love because, like, I mean, I'm a sucker for romance. But I think some of the scenes that create this real change that we're talking about is like going to dinner with your girlfriend and having your mom be like, pass the cranberry sauce. It's these little like real life anchors that I think are really powerful. That I've enjoyed the most, little moments, little smiles or handholds, or like getting teased by another character, or like sharing a look across the room that connects them, and all these these little tiny moments, that's what fleshes it out for me. I love the little, like the sugar.
Yeah, like even when we all got put to sleep that time, do you remember? And then we're like in the hallway and we're just like, I'm just like in you, and it's just like we're trying to stay awake, like those little pieces.
The little pieces.
Emily, would you speak a little bit about what has been your biggest joy about bringing these characters to life and seeing these Dom and Kat in these roles.
I'll totally ball. It's funny, just like listening to you guys talk, like I have so many favorite moments of you two, but I really do want to honor that first scene in Shorties, because for me, it was like, honestly, I was watching a moment when your lives were going to change. Like, honestly, I feel like that. Like, there was something that you cannot teach. There was like chemistry and vulnerability. And like, I was like, I remember being like, I think your lives might change, you guys. I think these characters may become iconic in the queer lexicon. Like, I honestly was like, I don't want to jinx it, but
Yeah.
I think my journey has just been like, I just have loved watching them grow as performers too, just their strength and their bravery and their courage. And look, the show is nuts, you know, the show is crazy. And I just think their dedication from day one to kind of like going for it and knowing that emotionally it was going to be grounded enough and romantic enough and real enough that they could go there, that Waverly could get her hand chopped off. And, you know, Kat this year was throwing up frogs and we made her be naked in the freezing cold. Like, I think that these two women have really come into their own, and also just like as friends off screen, like it makes me emotional. But like, I do hope you two have taken good stuff away from the show. I'm sure it's been incredibly intense, to be honest. It's been, I'm sure it's a crazy journey, you know, from nothing to something to everything to now we're going to maybe do it without Earp for a little while. But you deserve it. You deserve all the joy in the world. I'll get so emotional. And like, thank you so much for just leaving it all on the floor, as they say in sports. I just think it couldn't have worked with anyone else. And what the fans are responding to at the end of the day is the authenticity of these two women, just imbibing these characters. So it has been so joyful. It has been so joyful, and what an honor too in the community, I think, to have projected something so joyful and positive. I feel like it has changed my life.
I know that we need to wrap. So I wonder if we could, I'll just give you some space to have some parting words. You know, if you want to talk about the fans or the legacy or a possible movie or, you know, anything else. So Kat, you're on my screen right now, so I will go to you first.
Yeah, I'm so glad, because at first when you said that, I was like, oh, I don't know. But now I know exactly what I want to say. What I want to say, I did a convention this past weekend. I think there's some fear that we're going to go away. I just want to assure people that, like, I'm not going anywhere. I'm very incredibly grateful for this journey, but I'm also like really determined to continue the work and continue just doing what I can to promote better and more queer representation, strong female characters, just diverse characters, and using the platform that this experience has gifted me, both on a public level, but especially within the industry. And just to like continue to, you know, talk to people like GLAAD and having those relationships with the advocate. And like, those are tools that I would like to promise the fans that like I am doing everything I can behind the scenes to like continue the work that I feel on some level was like beautifully given to me as maybe a task that I can contribute in some way. And yeah, I just want to assure people that like I'm not going away, and I'm gonna continue using the tools that I've been given, the stories that I've heard, the beautiful people that I've met, to continue trying to like push these stories forward to the absolute best of my ability. And I just want to assure people that like I don't plan on disappearing from having these conversations anytime soon. And I've sensed this like fear, and if my words can be of any reassurance, that like that's not the plan for myself. And I just want people to know that.
So Dom, do you have any final parting thoughts for the moment?
Yes, of course. I'm really working with the energy of trust at the moment. And I just, what's coming through right now is just this sense of trust that everything that we've experienced and everything that has unfolded, that I trust that it will continue. It will continue in some form. Like the energy that we've created, the connections we've made, the relationships that have been formed. Like I really, it's bringing me a sense of reassurance to trust in the unfolding of and the journey that it will take, and it might look different for everyone. Like I so appreciate what Kat shared, and I adore your heart. I love you so much, Kat. And we're all on different journeys, you know, and that is, I absolutely am going to show up in my own way and feel so passionate about this work on so many levels, and we'll continue having these conversations in order to create change in the way that feels authentic to me. And I really want to promote that, you know, to for us all to tap into our truth, because I think if there's one thing that this show has taught me about, it's about embracing our truth and using our truth in order to create change. So you can definitely expect lots more to come, but I don't really know what that's going to look like yet. And I think that's okay, you know, like just the surrendering to the unknown and trusting in beautiful higher power that has held us during this journey, and I believe will continue. So just deep gratitude really to all of you for being here today, to Em, who is just so, because I spoke a lot.
I want to just go to Emily, this driver of this ship, you know, this amazing gift that you've given to your cast and crew and to fans and the queer community and to sisterhood, and give you an opportunity for this chapter of Wynonna Earp up with.
Thank you. I just want to say, first of all, like, I honestly appreciate it so much, but I've said it so many times, like, I just could not have done it without this team. Like, I honestly think it was a group effort from the crew to the cast to the writers to the directors, and like, that's what made it special, and I feel blessed. I'll go fast. I would say, like, if you want more Earp, I have more Earp to tell, and like, maybe we'll figure out a way to do that, you know, like, season 5, I would love to do a movie in 5 years. I will write you a way hot scene on a napkin. I think that there's a million different ways to keep telling Earp stories, and the Earp universe is so rich that, like, I'm in. Like, that's my heart. On the other hand, I'm very excited to be creating new stuff that's, like, as Kat said, like, really, really queer stuff, super gay, super fun, super inclusive, pushing those boundaries. I feel like that is all the art I want to make, and I'm pretty determined to make it. So if you like Earp, please show up. so we can show my bosses and the networks and the decision makers that there's an audience for this. I think that is so critical. And lastly, to the Earpers, I'll get so emotional, but like, if you take something from this show, please be brave enough to live who you are, whatever that means to you, and however long it takes you to get there, you know, whether it's 21 years or a few minutes, or you've always known. I think it's so important that you try to define yourself by who you are and who you want to be, rather than who people tell you to be. And that has been a joy for me. And I really hope the audience takes that message, because only then, I think, can you find peace and be happy. And that will make me feel like we really did help you and it was worth it. It was always worth it. But please take that message. That would mean the world to me if you went out into your own lives and tried in your own way to be as brave as Waverly and Nicole. So thank you.
Wow.
Emily, eye makeup weren't running before.
That's why you just can't wear any mascara for these things.
I know.
Assume it's all going to go to hell.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you for being here. Thank you, Megan Townsend from GLAAD. Thank you, Emily Andras. Thank you, Katherine Barrell. And thank you, Dominique Provost-Chalkley. I just hope that, you know, I don't have to hope. I know that the fans are going to keep showing up and they're just going to love this finale. And I want to thank GLAAD and all of you for allowing me to be a part of this piece of the journey.